in person and also those mail-in ballots. Now, Chris Stewart and Rick still with us. Christopher, explain to us very simply, why are early voting numbers important? What do they tell us?
Well, it's important to be measured in what we try to glean from them. They do tell us something about who is turning out. Certainly the records we're seeing in places like Georgia and North Carolina indicate that there's a whole lot of enthusiasm for voting. That said, just because somebody has a D after their name on the voter rolls doesn't mean they're necessarily voting for Harris. Someone has an R after their name doesn't necessarily mean they're voting for Trump. So I think, the main thing that we can derive from this is that there's a lot of enthusiasm about participating in the election. I think we're going to have to wait until these votes are open and counted to see how they affect the outcome of the election.
All right, Stuart. Now, according to a CNN tracker comparing the same point of voting in 2020, these early votes, early turnout is lower in 36 states this year and higher in 0 states. Nowhere else. We don't see it anywhere at all. So given Democrats held this wide advantage over the Republicans in early voting when Biden won, how much of this is really a worry for you, for the Harris campaign, really?
Well, this is really sort of ironic and interesting, because when I worked in the Republican Party, we prided ourselves on putting together the best early voting operation. This was something that was mostly called absentee voting, but it was something that we always did better than the Democrats. And then Trump came along with this, nonsense about early voting being bad. And it probably cost, I don't think it cost him the election, but I think it probably cost 2 Democratic senators who got elected in Georgia on January 5th, 21, which was extraordinary. The answer is we really don't know what's happening out there. You don't know how someone's voting early in the larger picture of it, because we don't have anything to model this on. 20 was an extraordinary election. You can't really look at that because of COVID. So I think it's a really interesting question. And I think anybody who tells you that it definitely proves this or definitely proves that is probably wrong.
Rick, what do you think?
I agree in part with my colleague and disagree in another. I agree that it doesn't prove anything. What I don't agree with is the fact that there is a shift in the mindset of the Republicans who have traditionally voted at the poll on the day of the election. Now, this is really important because it helps to develop what we know as like a herd mentality. If you see other Republicans out there voting, and again, there is a high probability that if you're a Republican and you're early voting, then you're voting for the Republican candidate and the candidate of your choice, because again, all elections are local. And so what's driving the polls could be Trump, but it also could be very local elections that are really important to people in those particular towns. And so it's definitely a reflection of a shift of interest that Republicans have in this party. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to low propensity voters and voter turnout. And if you're seeing a larger voter turnout, then I think that herd mentality is going to be much more favorable for the Republican Party this year, shifting that mindset and getting more people to come out and vote and participate in this election, of which in the past they may not have.
Rick, I'm trying to figure out what's really changed here, because Trump has been publicly skeptical of early voting while campaigning in Pennsylvania. Just last month, he called early voting stupid stuff. He said mail-in ballots lead to cheating. We've talked a little bit about that. Now, the Republican campaign, though, has spent millions of dollars encouraging their supporters to go at it, go out there and vote. There are reports, of course, that right now we're talking about Republicans coming out there in strong numbers. So what else really has changed? Has that campaigning really helped?
The major shift is what I think my colleague just mentioned. From 2020, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and most voting all across the country shifted to mail-in ballots, which allowed for a high degree of potential issues and calculation errors and things that the Republican Party questioned what was the outcome of the election and whether it was on solid footing or not. Here you see people going to the polls in early voting, and I think, again, going past the candidates, going past the person and looking at the party and the policies, I think people are voting on those issues. And again, I think it's quite remarkable among the Republican Party to be out there early and voting. I think this is going to shift the mindset from those that may not have gotten involved in this election, those low propensity voters. That turnout, I think, is going to make a big, major difference in the outcome of this election.
Okay, Christopher, moving on to connected but a slightly different subject here now. According to the latest headline from the Washington Post, was reading this morning, nearly half of Republican candidates for Congress or top state officials have used social media to cast doubts on the integrity of the 2024 election. Just wondering, does this really help people, their base, to come out and vote?
That's a great question. I can imagine that for very online Republicans, seeing these sorts of things might be some sort of a call to action. But I think for the community at large, seeing this sort of thing coming from elected officials, coming from candidates for federal office, can be discouraging. For a lot of folks, politics is not something that they pay attention to every single day. It's more like a sport that they don't pay a lot of attention to. They know what's happening, they know it exists, but they're not following it very closely. So when you're getting a lot of negative messages, when you're getting people who are themselves running for office saying, oh, well, it's not going to be a fair election, the count's not going to be accurate, and that sort of thing, I think the broader outcome is that is going to discourage a lot of people from engaging in the system and taking part in the election.
Stuart, what about this kind of rhetoric? Do you think it works in favor of Kamala Harris's base, hearing all of this? They'll get out there and vote?
I think it's very hard to calculate how it's going to affect the election, but I think it's a great tragedy for America. This generation of Republicans, like Democrats, they're heirs to the greatest generation. People like my dad, who fought for years overseas and came back and just went about business. They defended democracy. And because we have a president, a current nominee, former president, and his vice president, who will not say that our current president was legally elected. What does that mean? Well, that means we don't live in a democracy. And I think that is just that has been the goal of the Soviet Union from the 1920s, to convince people in America it's not really, and across the world, that America isn't really a democracy. It is extraordinarily corrosive to civil good. And ultimately, democracies are based on trust, like all societies. And if you go out and you say, I don't trust these elections, and one of the just incredible realities of the 2020 election, which Trump and Vance still say that Biden stole the White House. Every Secretary of State, they certify elections in our system. The majority of them were Republicans in 2020. Everyone said that their elections in their state went smoothly. And, so this is, in a democracy, somebody has to be willing to lose. I worked for Romney. We lost.
Okay.
So, okay, that was bad. But we admitted we lost because we did, and that's how it's supposed to work. And this is extraordinarily dangerous. And that the Republican Party, a lot of these people I helped elect, are not calling Trump and Vance out on this is one of the most shameful chapters in modern American history.
Rick, we have just a few seconds left, in about 30 or 40 seconds. What do you think? Are you going to call Trump and Vance out on what happened all those years ago as far as conceding the previous election goes?
I think most Republicans are ready to live in the future, not the past. And at the end of the day, it comes down to one simple phrase, which my colleagues know very well. It's the economy, stupid. And the bottom line is that Americans are tired of the rhetoric, the discussion of what happened in 2020. They're looking to move past that. They're looking for interest rates to drop. They're looking for household kitchen table issues and items to be able to be affordable again. Those are the things that the average American, those that are turning out in the polls, care about.
Thanks very much for your time, Rick and Stuart, also Chris, joining us here on NDTV World's US Election Watch. In other news now, billionaire and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates has recently donated about $50 million to a non-profit organization supporting Kamala Harris. Now, the New York Times reported that the donation to Future Forward, the main outside fundraising group backing Harris, was meant to stay under wraps as Gates has not publicly endorsed Kamala Harris. Now, Gates, in private calls this year to friends and others, had expressed concern about what a second Donald Trump presidency would look like, according to that report. Now, the Georgia Supreme Court has rejected an attempt by national and state Republicans to immediately reinstate recently passed election rules that a lower court judge had said were invalid. Republicans had appealed the ruling to Georgia's highest court. However, the state Supreme Court unanimously declined to put the previous judge's order on hold or expedite the ruling, meaning it will likely take several months before there's any further movement on that issue. And finally, former President Obama is not the type to easily get unnerved, but at a recent Kamala Harris campaign event in swing state Michigan, Obama joked about being nervous and having sweaty palms. Obama took to the stage to launch into a rendition of rapper Eminem's Lose Yourself. The verse Obama performed to is from the film 8 Mile. Obama adapted the lyrics so they were in the first person. Here's Obama taking it away.
What up, though? In the run-up to the U.S. presidential election on the 5th of November, there have been numerous claims.
I gotta say, you know, I have done a lot of rallies, so I don't usually get nervous. But I was feeling some kind of way following Eminem. I mean, I notice my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on my sweater already, mom's spaghetti. I'm nervous, but on the surface I look calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting.
Barack Obama, former U.S. president and now rapper. That's it for U.S. Election Watch. I'm Alistair D'Souza in Washington, D.C.
We know that living with diabetes can make daily life a challenge, and we're here to help.
I felt very low with the diagnosis and very lonely as well and embarrassed.
I think people don't necessarily realise the impact that being diabetic can have on you and the amount of extra decisions you have to make a day through carb counting every single thing you eat.
If you're struggling with the everyday challenges diabetes can bring, become a Diabetes UK member today. Receive this informative welcome pack and Balance magazine.
Balance magazine has been very good in giving me tips to manage my diabetes on a day-to-day basis.
One of the things I was recommended to do was exercise. What motivated me was my love of dance, and I got that back.
Join a community that really understands. Call 0800 035 7605 or go online to become a member for just £3 a month.
You could lock in a fixed energy deal now and take the power back. Switch and save at uswitch.com.
This is the MSF hospital you can help build. This is the equipment you can help buy in the hospital you can help build. This is the doctor you can help train using the equipment you can help buy in the hospital you can help build. This is the medicine you can help supply, given by the doctor you can help train using the equipment you can help buy in the hospital you can help build. These are the patients you help survive, treated with the medicine you help supply, given by the doctor you help train, using the equipment you help buy in the hospital you can help build. These are the lives you help rebuild, the patients you help survive, treated with the medicine you help supply, given by the doctor you help train, using the equipment you help buy in the hospital you can help build. This is help that lasts. With regular donations, you help us provide long-term medical care. Please donate £10 a month by searching MSF Now. That's MSF Now.
Make this Diwali royal with Royal Sweets. Enjoy authentic traditional sweets with your family. Order online at royalsweets.co.uk.
I urgently need to ask for your help on behalf of animals at risk right now.
With the pandemic came a surge in pet ownership. And sadly, we're now seeing a serious rise in neglect, cruelty, and abuse. Our services are being stretched to the limit. To make matters worse, our costs are soaring too. But we refuse to let animals suffer. So please, act now to help rescue the growing number of animals who've never needed us more. Please call or text the number on screen now to give £2 a month to the RSPCA. In one of the toughest times we have ever experienced, your gift will make all the difference to animals. You could help provide more life-saving treatment, food, shelter, and the loving care that many have never known.
We know there are millions of you who, like us, care deeply and won't stand by while animals are suffering.
We have to reach those trapped in a life of abuse and neglect before it's too late. Because for many, the RSPCA is their only hope. But we can only come to the rescue with the support of people like you. So please, will you help us be there no matter what? Call 0800 313 4392 or text RSPCA to 78866 to start your monthly gift today. Thank you.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
After a breakthrough in our border dispute, marking a potentially new chapter in a very complex relationship. After years of tension along the line of actual control, including the deadly clashes in 2020, both nations have agreed to new patrol arrangements aiming for disengagement in key friction areas. This agreement, reached after intense negotiations, could pave the way for improved diplomatic trade ties between the two Asian giants. But the real focus today was this: the Prime Minister Narendra Modi shaking hands with Xi Jinping in Kazan in Russia. They're both there or have been there for the BRICS summit. But, you know, BRICS is about Brazil, Russia, India and China, but it's really the India-China story which have dominated the headline. The first meeting of the two leaders after 5 years, and perhaps the most substantive and forward-looking in terms of what the road ahead for India and China might look at. Good news over there. We'll be breaking that down. But next on the show at about 1:30, an exclusive interview from the NDTV World Summit. I speak to former British Prime Minister David Cameron on India's growing international presence. He explains how the UK supports India's bid for a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council. And finally, towards the end of the show, Mission Mumbai, our special focus ahead of the Maharashtra state elections. A quick look now at the headlines at this hour. The Maha Vikas Aghadi bloc have finally started to arrive at a seat-sharing agreement for the Maharashtra polls. The Congress, the Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray Sena and Sharad Pawar NCP will each get 85 seats each. The remainder of the seats will go to smaller parties. Aditya Thackeray will contest from Worli. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra files the nomination papers in Wayanad for the forthcoming by-polls, marking her debut in electoral politics. Orissa and Bengal brace for Cyclone Dana that will make landfall on Thursday evening. Heavy rainfall in 11 districts is expected. Kolkata Airport will suspend operations for at least 15 hours. And after going down in Bengaluru to the Kiwis in the opening test of the series, Team India's comeback strategy will be a low, slow spinning track, it appears, in Pune, but they'll stick to their aggressive batting approach, says coach Gautam Gambhir. Well, it's been a remarkable day as far as India and China are concerned. You can see the image over there of the Prime Minister with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. The first meeting of the two leaders in 5 years. Let's quickly listen in to what they both said before we break it down for you on the significance of the day.
आपसे मिलकर खुशी है और जैसा आपने कहा 5 साल के बाद हमारी फॉर्मल मीटिंग हो रही है। हमारा मानना है कि भारत और चीन के संबंधों का महत्व केवल हमारे लोगों के लिए ही नहीं, लेकिन वैश्विक शांति, स्थिरता और प्रगति के लिए भी हमारे संबंध बहुत अहम है। एक्सेलेंसी, सीमा पार पिछले 4 वर्षों में उत्पन्न हुए मुद्दों पर बनी सहमति का हम स्वागत करते हैं। सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए। म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट और म्यूचुअल सेंसिटिविटी हमारे संबंधों का आधार बने रहना चाहिए। आज इन सभी विषयों पर बात करने का अवसर मिला है। मुझे विश्वास है कि हम खुले मन से बातचीत करेंगे और हमारी चर्चा कंस्ट्रक्टिव होगी।
Mr. Prime Minister, it's my great pleasure to meet you in Kazan. It's the first time for us to have a formal meeting in 5 years' time. Both the people in our two countries and the international community are paying great attention to our meeting. China and India are both ancient civilizations, major developing countries, and important members of the global south. It's important for both sides to have more communication and cooperation, properly handle our differences and disagreements, and to facilitate each other's pursuit of development aspirations.
Prime Minister Modi met with President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the 16th BRICS summit. This meeting happened, as you are all aware, close on the heels of the disengagement and patrolling agreement and the resolution of issues that had arisen in the India-China border areas in 2020. Naturally, the two leaders welcomed the agreement reached between the two sides through sustained dialogue over the last several weeks in diplomatic as well as military channels.
The Kazan declaration has been accepted, the BRICS declaration has been accepted, and the leaders have said that the summit, they have reiterated the importance of further enhancing the BRICS solidarity. Now, this was the first time where the new members had also joined the BRICS summit, and this has made the summit, this has made the BRICS even more stronger. They have talked about BRICS solidarity and cooperation based on mutual interest and key priorities. PM Modi also has said during the intervention that the decision should be taken by consensus, and of course the older members, the founder members' views should be respected, and that is also one point. There has been talk about local currency, usage of local currencies. There is a conversation going about that, and they have also talked about strengthening the multilateralism for a more just and democratic world order. We have known that the Global South has felt not heard, and India has been taking a leadership in that as well, and Global South is represented amply here in BRICS summit. So that too is a very important development where the BRICS declaration talks about it, about the potential of these BRICS countries which are from Latin America, Asia, Africa, and of course Russia and China are here. So this is also a very important point. One important point regarding the present situation which BRICS declaration talks about is respect of human rights, because the two wars are going on, and the declaration also talks about respecting the human rights in any sort of situation, in such situations, and it also talks about finance and helping each other. So this is a wide document. This is a very well-rounded document. But the most important part is Russia has been able to give a message to the rest of the world that it is not isolated, because more than 24 countries leaders were here, more than 32 countries delegations were here. So this is one of